From homeless black to millionaire, a story that even Donald Trump and Elon Musk admire. Eli always thought money could fix everything. The city's neon lights shimmered through his penthouse windows, casting sharp reflections on the marble floors. Outside, downtown roared, horns blaring, footsteps pounding, lives rushing past each other like waves crashing against steel. Eli's life was a whirlwind of luxury cars, exclusive parties, and deals no one else could touch. Yet tonight, something gnawed at his chest. A twisting, sinking feeling he couldn't shake. He stepped down the street, just for the hell of it, to clear his head. The cold air cut through the silk jacket he wore like a knife. That's when he saw her. Anna, standing outside a tiny cafe, clutching a faded cardboard sign. The barista's eyes flashed cold as he barked, "No loitering! No freebies! Move on!" Anna's hands trembled, her voice barely a whisper, but her eyes burned with fierce pride. She wasn't invisible, not to me. The crowd around them buzzed. Laughs, cars, footsteps, smog thick in the air. But inside that moment, it all stilled. A harsh laughter broke through, cutting through the cold silence between Anna and the man who just pushed her away. Eli's throat tightened. Here he was, a billionaire sculpting empires, yet watching this woman fight the same battle he never wanted to face. Her ragged coat smelled like years of forgotten nights. The dirt clung to her like a second skin. Yet her spine was straight, her spirit unbroken. The contrast clashed violently against the golden cufflinks on Eli's wrist. Slowly, something clicked. Deep beneath the surface. A jolt. Anna wasn't just another face in the street. She carried a secret, one tangled thick with Eli's own buried past. His grandfather's name whispered quietly in her old stories. A name he had fought, dusted, and dead. The same family feud that built his fortune, now dragging shadow. Could he ignore their shared blood? Could he brush away the fight she'd been born into? Or had his fortune been built on ruins someone like Anna was trying to bury? His hands tightened into fists. The urge to rush forward, burning hot. He'd lived in glass towers, tempered by cold deals and empty nights. But now, watching Anna pushed from warmth and comfort, his world trembled on its axis. "Wait," he said, voice rough and low. Anna froze, disbelief flickering across her face. Something unspoken hung between them. Years of pain, betrayal, hope, and fear. Could Eli save her? Or would digging up the past tear everything apart? The city's heartbeat raced with his own as the evening turned dark. One thing was clear. This was no ordinary encounter. It was a storm waiting to explode. What secret links them beyond the streets and suits? And what will Eli do when the foundation beneath him starts to crack? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important warning. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube removed their subscriptions without notice. Take a quick look at the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I don't want you to miss any exclusive content that's coming. And since you're here, drop a powerful like. That really helps me with the algorithm. Oh, and let me know in the comments. What city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's interact. Eli stared at Anna, the weight of their connection pressing heavy in the air. He took a step forward, words bubbling to the surface, but a sudden crack echoed through the night like thunder. The ground shook beneath them. Coffee cups rat. Inali gaspe, glanceando alrededor. Esta mañana Antón, ojos vueltos sin comprensión. Pero algo atrajo su mirada hacia Ana, who estaba ingelada. Dem pasó. Una explosión de gracia iluminó por abajo un bombati. Gritos al caminante. El corazón de Inali se levantó para salir. La vibrancia de la ciudad se convirtió en un enigma, y mientras opó por fiel. The air heavy with fear. Come on, he shouted over the din, pulling her toward safety. But Anna didn't move. She stared at the chaos as if it were a haunting dream. Eli, wait! Before he could respond, she dropped her cardboard sign, reaching for something hidden beneath her coat. Eli's breath caught. A glint of metal caught his eye. A knife? Panic shot through him. What did she have? Anna, what are you doing? He managed, his voice rising. I need to find him, she shouted, fierce determination replacing the fear in her eyes. My brother! He's in there! Your brother? Eli echoed, confusion swirling. This was so much more than he understood, yet the fire in Anna's voice ignited something deep inside him. With a resolute nod, she broke free of his grip, racing toward the chaos. Eli couldn't let her go alone. Not now. He followed, heart pounding in ritmo with the chaos around them. Frantic voices filled the air. Someone calling for help. Another trapped. They reached the entrance, smoke curling like fingers around them. The smell of burnt rubber turned his stomach, panic clawing at his chest. We can't go in there, he shouted, gripping her arm. But Anna's expression was resolute, fierce. You don't understand. I need to save him. She broke away, charging into the smoky haze. Eli hesitated, fear gnawing at him. But something inside him shattered. The sight of her vulnerability, mixed with desperation, ignited a fire of purpose. Duh! He plunged after her, the air thickening, each step becoming a battle against chaos. They stumbled into the dim light of the lobby. The walls trembled and sirens wailed, blending into a symphony of horror. Eli's heart swelled as he recognized the brother she fought to save. But as they moved closer, doubt crept back in. The young man's face twisted in fear as he staggered backward, gaze darting between the two of them. Who are you? Ryan demanded, eyes darting with suspicion. What do you want? Eli's heart sank. This wasn't the reunion he expected. Something shifted in the air, suffused with a sinister undertone. I'm just trying to help, Eli said, raising his hands slowly. But then Ryan's eyes widened, horror crashing over his face. No, get back! You don't understand! Confusion rippled through Eli as he took an involuntary step back. Understand what? Before either of them could speak again, the building erupted in a thunderous crackle, sending them sprawling. As they fell, the ground beneath them shifted again, and Anna's scream pierced the air, a sound full of despair. Eli pushed himself up just in time to see something. A flash, a revelation cross Anna's face, one that turned his very world upside down. The truth he thought he understood shattered in that instant, leaving behind only fragments of clarity, clouded by smoke. Their shared blood, their hidden past, was about to unravel in the most devastating way. He had thought they were linked by empathy, tied to a shared history, but the reality set in like ice through his veins. What if Anna and Ryan were connected in ways he had never imagined? As the world collapsed around them, Eli realized this was far bigger than him. How deep did this family feud run? What darkness had he unknowingly inherited? "Anna, what's happening?" he shouted. But uncertainty swirled between them, leaving him more lost than ever. In that thunderous moment, everything he believed was on the brink of unraveling. And as the ground shook, Eli felt the truth expand toward him like an unstoppable wave. The storm was only just beginning. Eli held his breath, and the world faded away. All he saw was Anna. Her eyes darted, confusion etched into her features. The moment stretched, longer than he ever imagined, rivaling eternity. "Who are you?" Anna finally whispered, her voice shaky. "Why do you care?" Eli clenched his fists tighter. He wanted to scream, "Because I know you!" but the words caught in his throat. Before he could explain, a flash illuminated the street. A blinding beam sliced through the gloom. Eli instinctively shielded his eyes. The distant sound of sirens echoed, growing louder. People around them scattered, eyes wide with terror. Anna's gaze shifted behind him, her expression shifting from confusion to fear. "We need to go," she said urgently, grabbing his wrist. Eli's pulse raced. "What's happening?" Then it hit. A deafening explosion erupted nearby. Smoke and debris flew into the air. Shadows danced across their faces as chaos unfolded. Screams pierced the night. Sirens wailed. People ran. A frantic sea of panic. Eli's mind raced. "Stay close!" he yelled, gripping Anna's hand. They ducked into the alley beside the cafe. The familiar stench of garbage mixing with the metallic tang of fear. Heart pounding, he looked into Anna's wide eyes, the storm of emotions swirling, a mix of confusion, dread, and something deeper too. "Why did you stop?" She was frustrated now. "We can't just stand here." Eli's chest tightened. "I need to know who you are. I've seen you before, haven't I?" "No," she shot back. "Please, just run." But Eli was rooted in place. In the midst of the chaos, a thought clawed at him. If Anna was connected to him, what did that even mean? He had to unravel this thread, or everything he built might crumble. And then the truth struck him like a lightning bolt. Gunfire erupted. The sound shattered the air. So close, he felt the shockwave slam into him. People fell, and Eli grabbed Anna, pulling her tightly against him. "We have to get out of here," he shouted. But the words barely left his mouth when a figure emerged from the smoke. It was a man, tall, wearing a black coat, face hidden beneath a dark hood. But Eli recognized that stance. The authoritative way the figure moved amid the chaos. He felt like he was being pulled under. Everything he thought was stable now teetered on the brink. "Eli! Anna!" the figure boomed. "Come out! This is bigger than you think!" Eli's heart dropped. It was Michael, his estranged brother, the very one he'd thought he'd escaped. Anger burn through him. "What are you doing here?" he shouted, pushing through the fear. "You don't get to just hunt me down!" Michael stepped closer, lifting his hands in a placating gesture. "I'm not here to fight, Eli. You need to listen. This isn't just about us anymore. The family's legacy is in danger. And Anna, she's part of it." Anna's face went pale. "What do you mean?" she asked, panic flooding back into her voice, her grip on Eli tightening. Eli's chest felt like it was collapsing in on itself, the world spinning. "What are you talking about?" he demanded, shock coloring his tone. The gunfire continued, and the figure of Michael loomed over them. The edges of Eli's world sharpened, the stakes towering. He had to decide, run into the unknown or uncover secrets that could destroy everything. "Both of you need to trust me," Michael shouted, "or we're all dead." Eli's heart raced. He could feel the ground giving way beneath him, and the truth twisted like a knife through his gut. What was the connection? What had Anna been holding back? In that fractured moment, everything became a question. Eli could sense the walls closing in, the air thick with smoke, tension crackling, like the whole world watching, waiting for him to choose. The truth felt so close, yet so terrifying. What lay ahead? Confusion churned inside him, urgency electrifying the air. He pulled Anna closer. Would they turn back to face Michael together, or run from what was now a tangled web of lies? The night thrummed with uncertainty. Eli's heart pounded, the chaos swirling around them like a storm ready to break. Michael's presence weighed heavy in the air, but there was no time for confusion. The weight of urgency pressed against his chest like a vice. "What do you mean she's part of it?" he shouted over the cacophony. "Anna is tied to the legacy," Michael started, but the ground shook again, making Eli stumble. Ryan grabbed Anna's arm, pulling her towards him, the fear in his eyes mingling with protective instinct. "Get away from them!" he yelled, stepping in front of her. That flicker of danger ignited something in Eli, but the panic around them was too loud to ignore. Sirens wailed, shattering the night. "I'll explain everything," Michael shouted, his frustration surging through the chaos. But just as Eli opened his mouth to demand the truth, the silence shattered with a sudden crash. A massive plume of smoke erupted from the building behind them. Everyone turned, eyes wide, breaths caught. Eli felt the pressure of the moment build, thick and cloying. "We can't stay here," he yelled, grasping Anna's hand tighter. "I can't leave him," she shouted back, fierce and desperate. "Anna, he's your brother," Eli urged, his heart racing. What was happening here? Just then, another surge of chaos erupted. This time, frantic people surged toward them, running, screaming. Then, amidst the gloom, he saw it. A glint on the pavement. Eli's eyes widened, recognizing the shape. A gun, lying just a few feet away, black and deadly. He felt his stomach drop. "Look out!" someone screamed, but it was too late. Gunfire erupted. Bullets flew, tearing through the air like a swarm. Eli shoved Anna behind him, just as the crowd erupted into panic. Screams cut through the air, sharp as knives, and people scattered like leaves in the wind. Eli turned to Michael, voice hoarse with disbelief. "You brought this?" "No!" Michael shouted. "This wasn't supposed to happen." A figure emerged from the smoke, cloaked in darkness, face hidden. Eli's stomach churned. Something was wrong. "Who's doing this?" he shouted. "Trust me," Michael said, looking frantic. But then the shadow stepped closer, and everything shifted like a tectonic plate. Eli's breath caught. The figure's hood fell back, revealing a face that turned his blood cold. It was his mother, long thought lost, a ghost from a past that tore his family apart. "Eli!" Her voice was soft, yet filled with a chilling authority. "What?" Eli gasped, confusion and rage crashing against each other in his mind. Ryan stared, mouth agape, his grip slackening on Anna. "Why? Why are you here?" "Because," she said, stepping forward, her eyes fierce and sorrowful, "it's time you knew the truth. You, the three of you, are the key. The power rests with your bloodline." Eli faltered, his mind racing. Power? Bloodline? Everything he thought he understood shattered like glass. "What do you mean?" But before she could respond, the world erupted again. An explosion amplified the chaos, flinging debris. Eli shielded Anna, and Michael pushed forward, glaring at their mother. "This is your plan?" he thundered. "To put them at risk?" The tension snapped, and in that heartbeat, Eli felt the ground beneath him shift again, reality twisting. Fear clutched at his heart, squeezing tight. What secret had she hidden all these years? Who were they, really? In the throes of panic, Eli thought of Anna. She was his blood, but now stood on a precipice of danger, deepened by revelations. The threads of their lives intertwined in ways he never understood, and now it was a tangled mess of confusion. Secrets and threats. "Anna, we need to go," he pleaded, but her eyes were locked on their mother, bewildered, searching for answers. The world felt suspended, a moment stretched thin. Their past, their true legacy, the hidden battles, everything loomed ahead, waiting. But at what cost? Was this power worth the chaos it had unleashed? Eli's heart raced, trying to make sense of the storm around them. What had he stepped into, and where could it lead? The ground shook again, and time hung like a pendulum, ready to swing. What would it reveal next? Eli's voice broke the night, and time stilled. Anna turned slowly, uncertainty flickering in her eyes. "What do you want?" she asked, as if he might disappear if she blinked. The bustling city faded, replaced by the weight of their shared past. Eli searched Anna's gaze, their histories intertwining like thick vines. I want to help you." But even as the words left his mouth, doubt gnawed at him. What did help mean? Could he erase the years of hardship she endured? "Help?" Anna scoffed, an edge creeping into her tone. "You, with your money, think you can help me?" Her voice cracked, and Eli felt each word like a punch. He wanted to explain. He needed her to see he wasn't just a rich man looking to play savior. He was a man haunted, filled with regret. But before he could respond, a sharp crack echoed through the street. An explosion of sound, like glass shattering, sent a wave of panic through the crowd. Broken lights flickered ominously above them, and the scene exploded into chaos. Eli's heart raced. What was that? But as he turned to assess, all he saw were shadows and screams piercing through the thickening air. People began to sprint, desperate to escape a sudden storm of confusion. It felt like the world was unraveling. In the midst of the tumult, a figure emerged from the dark. A man dressed in black, eyes wild with a frenzy Eli hadn't seen since childhood. The figure pushed through the crowd, weaving past terrified faces. Eli's heart plummeted. He recognized that face. "Eli!" the figure shouted. "Get down!" In an instant, Eli's world spun to chaos as the man sprinted toward him. Eli barely had time to register the warning when the man threw himself at Eli, tackling him to the freezing ground. The crash of gunfire followed, echoing against the skyscrapers, shaking Eli to his core. The sound was a sharp reminder of his past, a life he had left behind, an angry memory clawing its way back into his present. "Stay down!" the man yelled again, his hands pressed against Eli's shoulders, the weight of urgency heavy in his grip. "They're here for both of us." "Who?" Eli cried, panic surging. Anna's eyes mirrored his shock, her breath caught in her throat, but the man only grunted, glancing nervously over his shoulder. It was then that Eli noticed the look of destiny etched across his face, a wild blend of fear and something Eli couldn't place, if it was hope or desperation. "Your father!" the man said, his voice a rough whisper. "They've come for you because of him." Eli's breath hitched. His father? The man he had thought dead for years, the man whose absence had shaped Eli's very being, the man whose name Alex owned yet never uttered? As more chaos erupted, Eli felt the truth pulling him, thrumming through the chaos like a heartbeat. The man held Eli tighter, his grip shaking. "You need to leave, now, before it's too late." Eli looked at Anna, her face a mixture of confusion and determination. This was not how it was supposed to be. The foundations of everything he built began to tremble, even falter. Could the past really resurface like this? Or had he just stepped into the very nightmare he thought he had escaped? The city lights dimmed around them. The shadows encroached. Time raced, and Eli was left with one haunting question. What would he sacrifice to save them both? The storm was just getting started. Eli's heart raced, caught in that charged moment. He stepped closer, the world around fading into a distant murmur. His throat tightened again, words tangled in his chest, ready to spill over. Then, before he could say a thing, a sudden commotion erupted, just a few yards away. A loud crash, a shout, rising above the chaotic sounds of the city. A man had toppled over, clutching his chest, his face a mask of terror. It was as if time paused. People around them froze, eyes darting back and forth. Fear pulsed through the air. The street, once buzzing with energy, went cold. "Help him!" someone yelled. Panic echoed in their voices. Eli turned back to Anna, her eyes wide, reflecting the chaos around them. "We need to do something." But as Eli moved forward, a strange weight pressed down, something he wasn't ready for. He glanced at Anna. She was still. Her hands trembled, fear wrapped around her like a heavy blanket. The barista was shouting now, his face blanched. Anyone nearby was scrambling away, leaving the man alone on the cold pavement. Eli rushed to the man's side, struggling to remember what to do. He pushed down on the man's chest, feeling the heartbeat beneath him, the frantic rhythm of life. "Stay with me!" he shouted, urgency binding his words. The crowd swelled, eyes wide, whispering doubts and fears spilling like rain. But Anna stayed back, observing, something dark and deep flickering in her gaze. Eli looked up. "Call 911. His voice cut through the panic, strong, but nothing. The people stood rooted, horror morphing into indecision. The seconds stretched like hours. Every heartbeat felt like a countdown. Then, just as Eli pushed harder, a sudden gasp fell from the man's lips. His body jolted, eyes wide, truly seeing Eli for the first time. And it happened in a blink. A revelation snaked out like a shadow across the street. The man whispered something, words barely audible. "Eli?" Eli froze, confusion rushing in. This wasn't just any random stranger. This voice held familiarity, a ghost from the past, clawing its way up to the surface. He met the man's gaze, a piercing blue that sent jolts through him. Recognition shot through Eli. "David?" "Eli, you didn't!" The man's voice cracked. He reached out, fingers stretching toward Eli's coat. "You're—" Then, before the last word hung in the air, before clarity could take hold, the man gasped again and flopped back, eyes rolling as darkness swept across his face. Terror ripped the crowd wide open. Screams erupted, and Eli felt his stomach drop. "No!" Eli shouted, desperation clawing at him. A wave of dread washed over him. The crowd surged away like the tide, their fear tangible. Fingers pointed, eyes wide, judgment spreading through the people surrounding them. Eli felt the reality crash in. He was no longer a billionaire in a silk suit. He was just a man clinging to a past he never wanted to revisit, unworthy of the moment. Anna stepped forward, her voice tight. "Do you know him?" Eli began, throat dry, caught in a whirlwind of emotions. But before he could finish, police sirens wailed in the distance, growing nearer. He could already feel their weighty eyes upon him, the walls closing in. Then he noticed Anna's expression shift. It wasn't just concern. It was something more profound. A recognition sparked in her gaze that drilled straight into his soul. No, it couldn't be. But before he could probe further, a stranger broke through the crowd, barreling toward them, wild-eyed and frantic. She was shouting, gesturing madly. You don't know what he—" But then Eli's heart raced cold. The words slipped from his grasp, lost in the roar of sirens. The stranger lunged, reaching a manic hand toward Eli. "You're linked to this. It's not what you think." Everything twisted, and Eli felt the ground shift beneath him, reality seeming to shatter into fragments. Those last words churned ominously in the air, igniting confusion and dread. What had he missed? What secrets lay buried that could change everything? He turned to Anna, seeking understanding, but her eyes held the storm. With the world spiraling out of control, that single instant echoed a deep, binding truth. Everything was about to unravel. The darkness was just beginning to creep in. What had he truly unearthed? Eli stood frozen. Anna's disbelief mirrored the wild storm of emotions swirling in his chest. Everything felt magnified, like the world had narrowed down to just them in that moment. Then, out of nowhere, a loud crash shattered the stillness. Glass erupted from the cafe. People screamed. A figure stumbled out, blood streaming from a wound on his forehead. A man in a dark hoodie. He gripped a gun, shaking, filled with desperation. Time slowed. Eli's heart raced as the crowd erupted into chaos. People diving for cover, some pushing against him as they fled. But Anna remained, frozen, her eyes wide, staring at the gun like it was a snake ready to strike. "Get back!" the man yelled, his voice cracking. "Stay away!" His eyes darted around, panicked, seeking something or someone. Ely felt a sudden urge, a pull to protect Anna, to shield her from this madness. "Anna!" Ely shouted, stepping in front of her. "Get inside!" But Anna didn't move. The warmth and light of the cafe receded like a tide, leaving her in a darkness thick with fear. Then the man's gaze landed on Ely. You think you're better than us? Look at you, towering over everyone in your fancy suit. His words cut deep, revealing layers of truth Ely had hidden from himself. The man was right. Ely's wealth, his success, all of it felt so shallow in that moment. "Stop! Just put the gun down!" Ely demanded, pushing his voice into the frenzy. He didn't fully know why he cared, but that was the only thing keeping him tethered to this spiraling chaos. The man trembled, fingers twitching on the trigger. "You don't get it! They took everything from me! You don't know!" His eyes flickered. That's when Ely saw it. The glint of recognition. "You!" the man breathed, voice softening, shock replacing the rage. "You're him! Eli Brooks! The one from..." Eli's heart dropped. "What do you mean?" The figure's chin quivered, filled with anger and pain. "You destroyed our family! Your family took everything! We were left with nothing!" Confusion clouded Eli's mind. He wasn't ready for this. A secret buried deep, something he had avoided all his life, surfaced like a boiling pot. The shadows of his past rushed back. He remembered whispers of betrayal, of money that split families wide open. Anna gasped, stepping closer to him. "Eli," she murmured, eyes wide. "What does he mean?" Eli felt the world tilt. Emotion simmered inside him, churning, overwhelmed. How did this stranger know? How was Anna connected to all of this? Then the man lunged, staggering forward. And the gun went off. A loud bang rang through the night, echoing against steel and glass. The crowd screamed, diving deeper into panic. But the shot hadn't come from him. Eli turned, heart racing, to find a police officer, gun drawn, responding to the scene. The air grew thick with fear and confusion. Sirens blared in the distance. The man stumbled, eyes wide, shocked. Blood trickled from his shoulder. The chaos shattered again, voices overlapping, questions firing off like ammunition. Eli stood there, a billion-dollar facade crumbling in the chaos around him, staring back and forth between Anna's terrified face and the wounded man, stunned by the truth that intertwined them all. The compressed air of revelation brushed against him as he realized this night wasn't about saving Anna. This night was about a history waiting, demanding to be uncovered. What lay beneath the surface? Hidden ties forged from anger, secrets, and loss, all converging to explode like the city around them. He felt it then, a weight, a presence too strong to escape. Would Eli's past consume him? Would it claim Anna too? Nothing made sense anymore, and he was left searching for answers, standing amidst the wreckage of his life. Eli stood there, breathless. The chaos around him felt like a distant rumble, a storm swirling just beyond his reach. He stared at the injured man, David, crumpled on the street, light fading from his eyes. Anna's expression was a mirror of disbelief, confusion hanging heavy in the air. The crowd tensed, each soul grappling with fear. But Eli felt an urgent pull to do something. "Stay back!" David gasped again, clutching his shoulder, crimson seeping through his fingers. Eli knelt, heart racing. We need to help him." "No," Anna shouted, a fire igniting in her voice. "He's part of this mess. You don't understand." The weight of her words crashed over him. Was he so blind to the truth? The air shifted again, churning with uncertainty, and Eli felt the ground shift under their feet. But just as tension crested, a deafening explosion erupted, sending a shockwave through the street. Screams intermingled with the blast, the force tossing Eli backward, time warped, everything blurring into chaos. He landed hard, stomach churning, vision spinning. As he looked up, the world turned to dust. A cloud of smoke enveloped everything. People scrambling and shouting, anxiety twisting through the frantic crowd. Eli's ears rang. He pushed himself up, and as the haze began to clear, he saw Anna darting away, fear etched across her face. "Anna!" he shouted, voice barely piercing the tumult. But then he saw something that made his heart stutter. A figure stepped out from the shadows. It was another man, wearing an identical dark hood, face obscured. But something about him felt chillingly familiar. As he stepped forward, he pulled down the hood, revealing a face Eli knew all too well, his own brother Michael. The air thickened, veiling Eli in challenge. "What are you doing here?" Eli demanded, confusion battling against anger. Michael's eyes flashed with desperation, his gaze darting towards David, and then back at Eli. "Dot, Eli, it's all conectado," he yelled, desesperación lazando sus suegres. "We don't have time. We're being hunted." "No," Eli began. But before he could finish, another explosion reverberated against the walls around them, knocking them all to the ground. Dust swirled, and through it, Eli caught a glimpse de la verdad, terando la parte de su realidad. "Get up!" Michael shouted, grabbing Eli's arm. But Eli was rooted, eyes widened as the fragments of memory surfaced, lives intertwined by betrayal. "Greed, el darkness. The familia es nunca sido lo que piensas," Michael gasped, urgency blossoming in his tone. "They've kept everything secret. Anna, Ryan. They're part of something bigger. You have to trust me." Panic fluttered in Eli's chest. He turned to Anna, searching her eyes, desperate for clarity. "What do you mean?" Then, before he could process, Anna broke free from the crowd, her eyes wild. She lunged toward David, now writhing on the ground. "David, please," she pleaded, heart racing. But wasn't there caution? "Stay back, Anna. You don't know what he could do," Eli shouted. But it was too late. Anna reached down, grasping David's manos tente. Their eyes locked, and a rippling jolt of understanding passed between them. Eli felt the air thicken. "No! What are you doing?" he cried out, voice breaking. But then David opened his mouth to speak, bloodied and broken. She's the key. Anna, don't trust him." Eli's heart dropped. What had he missed? What tangled web had ensnared them? Panic engulfed him as he grasped for answers. But the world exploded again. A blast of blinding light illuminating the night. Eli shielded his eyes, but couldn't shake the feeling that everything was shifting, unraveling before him. Suddenly, in that moment of chaos, with uncertainty screaming in his ears, Anna and David locked eyes again, and time stilled. "What?" Anna whispered, voice trembling with realization. The ground shook beneath them, but something in David's eyes held a whispered truth. their fates intertwined deeper than anyone could fathom, rooted in shadows that threatened to erase everything Eli believed he knew. All around them, chaos roared, but Eli felt the depth of the revelation crackling like electricity. Everything was unraveling. And then, it happened. Just as Eli was about to shout a warning, everything went black. The world faded, leaving only the echo of questions, unanswered and heavy, pulsing like a distant heartbeat. Where would this take them? What truth lay beyond the darkness? Eli stood there, breathless. The chaos around him felt like a distant rumble, a storm swirling just beyond his reach. He stared at the injured man, David, crumpled on the street, light fading from his eyes. Anna's expression was a mirror of disbelief, confusion hanging heavy in the air. The crowd tensed, each soul grappling with fear, but Eli felt an urgent pull to do something. "Stay back!" David gasped again, clutching his shoulder, crimson seeping through his fingers. Eli knelt, heart racing. We need to help him!" "No!" Anna shouted, a fire igniting in her voice. "He's part of this mess. You don't understand." The weight of her words crashed over him. Was he so blind to the truth? The air shifted again, churning with uncertainty, and Eli felt the ground shift under their feet. But just as tension crested, a deafening explosion erupted, sending a shockwave through the street. Screams intermingled with the blast, the force tossing Eli backward. Time warped, everything blurring into chaos. He landed hard, stomach churning, vision spinning. As he looked up, the world turned to dust. A cloud of smoke enveloped everything, people scrambling and shouting, anxiety twisting through the frantic crowd. Eli's ears rang. He pushed himself up, and as the haze began to clear, he saw Anna darting away, fear etched across her face. "Anna!" he shouted, voice barely piercing the tumult. But then he saw something that made his heart stutter. A figure stepped out from the shadows. It was another man, wearing an identical dark hood, face obscured. But something about him felt chillingly familiar. As he stepped forward, he pulled down the hood, revealing a face Eli knew all too well. His own brother, Michael. The air thickened, veiling Eli in challenge. "What are you doing here?" Eli demanded, confusion battling against anger. Michael's eyes flashed with desperation, his gaze darting towards David and then back at Eli. "Eli, it's all connected," he yelled, desperation lacing his voice. "We don't have time. We're being hunted." "No," Eli began. But before he could finish, another explosion reverberated against the walls around them, knocking them all to the ground. Dust swirled, and through it, Eli caught a glimpse of the truth tearing apart his reality. "Get up!" Michael shouted, grabbing Eli's arm. But Eli was rooted. Eyes widened as the fragments of memories surfaced, lives intertwined by betrayal, greed, and darkness. "The family, it's never been what you thought," Michael gasped, urgency blossoming in his tone. "They've kept everything secret. Anna, Ryan, they're part of something bigger. You have to trust me." Panic fluttered in Eli's chest. He turned to Anna, searching her eyes, desperate for clarity. "What do you mean?" Then, before he could process, Anna broke free from the crowd, her eyes wild. She lunged toward David, now writhing on the ground. "David, please!" she pleaded, heart racing. But wasn't there caution? "Stay back, Anna! You don't know what he could do, Eli shouted. But it was too late. Anna reached down, grasping David's hand tightly. Their eyes locked, and a rippling jolt of understanding passed between them. Eli felt the air thicken. "No! What are you doing?" he cried out, voice breaking. But then David opened his mouth to speak, bloodied and broken. She's the key! Anna, don't trust him!" Eli's heart dropped. What had he missed? What tangled web had ensnared them? Panic engulfed him as he grasped for answers, but the world exploded again. A blast of blinding light illuminating the night. Eli shielded his eyes, but couldn't shake the feeling that everything was shifting, unraveling before him. Suddenly, in that moment of chaos, with uncertainty screaming in his ears, Anna and David locked eyes again, and time stilled. "What?" Anna whispered, voice trembling with realization. The ground shook beneath them, but something in David's eyes held a whispered truth. It shook Eli to his core. He realized he wasn't just unraveling secrets. He was shattering everything he thought he understood. A rumble grew, louder and more ominous. Then it happened. A piercing scream erupted from the depths of the alley. Eli turned just in time to see a scene unfold that shattered everything. A woman appeared, her face obscured by a veil of darkness. And she pointed directly at him. "You'll pay for their sins, Eli." The words struck like a lightning bolt. And in that instant, a terrible truth unraveled in Eli's mind. The woman stepped back, her visage flickering, revealing another layer. His mother. "No, it can't be!" Eli gasped, a mix of anger and fear. "You're—" But before he could finish, the world shook violently again. Everything went black, leaving a haunting silence. Eli sank into a void, trapped between reality and a revelation that threatened to consume him. What did it all mean? What darkness awaited him in the answers? In the chaotic aftermath, the only certainty left was uncertainty, and Eli knew nothing would ever be the same again. Eli blinked as the world cracked wide open around him. The smoke lingered like a ghost, and for a heartbeat, time felt frozen. He could see Michael's desperate eyes, the urgency ringing in his voice. The chaos around them was a whirlwind, but Eli's focus narrowed down to the three of them, him, Anna, and David. "Get him out of here!" Michael shouted, his voice breaking through the din. "Now!" With every ounce of strength, Eli pushed himself to his feet. He grabbed Anna's hand, feeling her pulse racing beneath his touch. "We need to move," he urged, heart racing, each second feeling like a lifetime. But Anna hesitated, her gaze locked onto David, still writhing. "What if he knows something?" she pleaded, doubt creeping into her voice. "What if he can help us?" In that moment, Eli felt the choke of frustration. The air thick with uncertainty, weighted with unspoken truths, the legacy they couldn't escape. "We can't wait!" He tugged her back, urgency propelling him. And then, as if the universe answered his call, David gasped, croaking out words that broke through the chaos like a lifeline. "The truth about your family, the danger, it's connected to Anna." Eli's heart stuttered, the realization crashing in. "What do you mean?" he barked, but before David could answer, a terrified scream sliced through the air. sending a shock of adrenaline through Eli. "Help!" came the voice from the alley. A little girl, lost in the madness, stood trembling, eyes wide with fear. In that moment, Eli's heart broke, the world blurring into sharp focus. "Go!" he shouted to Michael, his brother's face tense with conflict. "I'll get her!" Without thinking, Eli dashed toward the girl, leaving Anna behind for that split second. He reached her just as panic crested. Wrapping his arms around her, he felt the tremor in her tiny frame. "It's okay, I've got you," he whispered. But uncertainty loomed like a shadow above. Anna's voice called softly, reassurance mixed with terror. "Eli, what are you doing?" But Eli was focused. He felt the weight of choices pressing on him, of lives entwined amid the chaos. "We need to go!" He swung around, ready to charge back to Anna. But the ground shifted again beneath them. A sudden rumble that split the air. Another explosion rocked the street, sending debris flying. Eli shielded the girl, eyes locked on Anna, who was racing toward them now. "We can't stay here!" she screamed. And Eli felt it, a surge of unity, of purpose mixed with fear. He scooped the girl in his arms and dashed back toward Anna, the streets shifting like quicksand. People were still screaming, rushing past them in a panic. Once back together, Anna looked at the girl, her own fear flickering out momentarily. "You're safe now. We'll get you home," she said, voice steady despite the chaos. Just then, David, still pallid but breathing, gripped Eli's shoulder. "Eli, the truth has to come out!" His voice wheezed, desperation now igniting clarity. Eli felt the weight of his family's legacy, what they had done, the pain they had inflicted. "I know," he replied, heart racing. "We'll figure this out together." Then Michael interrupted, his urgency crackling through the air. "They're coming! We need to leave now!" Eli met Anna's gaze. In that fleeting moment, he saw not just her fear, but a willingness to fight. They were linked, bound by their pasts, and this chaotic night was just the beginning. "Let's go!" Eli decidió. Determinación oriente dentro. Together, desprintaron la carretera, corazones volando omnipotent seguro. But as they moved, Eli couldn't trip that sentimental pitch that day. La noche no había revelado su entera verdad. What was to wait and beyond the chaos? Would he truly unravel the family secrets that threatened to tear them apart? With that question hanging in the air like a storm cloud, they disappeared into the night. Tap. Oh. Leaving chaos behind. But the answers were waiting, lurking beneath the surface, ready to unravel at a moment's notice. And now, before this incredible story ends, I need you to take action. You have to subscribe now, so you don't miss the next chapter of this unfolding saga. Smash that like button with all your might to feed the algorithm. Flood the comment section with your theories and reactions. Let's dive deep into this mystery together. And don't wait even a second longer to share this video with at least 5 friends.